board. And thank you for being here.
Yeah.
So let's start with first, just maybe a little bit about yourself, where you got your start and how you ended up where you are, and then a little bit about your music library company that you work for, or you have two different ones.
No problem. So actually I went to school out at Berklee College of Music in Boston, and I graduated in December of, oh, I'm so sorry, we're having some construction done, so let me know if it gets too loud.
No, we can hear just you. We're fine.
Okay, great. Yes, I went to school out in Boston, Berklee College of Music, graduated December 2016. And I was kind of looking around for jobs in the music industry, and I'm originally from Las Vegas, so I was able to kind of commute to LA when I graduated, get some interviews, come back, do that kind of thing, and ran into, sorry, the thing's going on again. Ran into Brad through an interview, and he controls the Fine Tune Music Library, which has been supplying to reality TV for 20 plus years. So we do The Bachelor, Dancing with the Stars, American Idol, So You Think You Can Dance, all the underscore for that. We supply that.
Cool.
So I've been working with him for a little over a year now. And we basically, what we've done is we have the Fine Tune Library, which is an exclusive library that he's had for a long time. And then we have this new library, which is all non-exclusive music. And it's kind of a way to get more music into those production company contacts that we've got over the years. So
awesome. We love that sound.
Yep.
Yeah, cool.
Cool.
Great. So let's just start with like a music library. I think a lot of people ask, what's the difference between a music library and a licensing company, and how do those differ? And if you want to have your music synced, like, how does it all work? So what's the music library all about?
Yeah, so I mean, depending upon what your library specializes in, I think it differs. Like there's companies that focus more on trailers, there's companies that focus more on, advertising and so forth. We're really focused in the reality TV world. So we don't really see a lot of upfront sync fees in our business. It has a lot to do with the back end royalties when it gets placed. So like, if we have a queue on, a CB,
we also have dinosaurs there.
Can you hear me okay? Sorry, I apologize. We just had these new studios built downstairs, and so we got to throw in a couple extra bathrooms, so it's been a big process. But
exciting though.
Yeah. Oh man. Let's see if I can migrate to the studio in a second. Just gonna, it's going away. I apologize. There we go. So, like for instance, if you have music on a show on CBS, the royalties in the back end are fairly good. So if you can place a bunch of music, have the editors like what you have.
What about headphones?
Sorry about that.
We're getting a tour.
Here we go. Let me try to get away from it.
Okay.
Right.
Also, maybe headphones. Chris suggested. I think that's probably a good idea.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me just run back up. Give me half a second.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. It's real life. I like everybody's comments here. You're enjoying it too much. Yeah, well, that's how it works. Reality TV. Hi, Tamara. It's so fun to see everybody's faces. So how many people are coming to the event next month? Next week. A lot of you? You are? Awesome, awesome, awesome. I can't wait to meet you guys. So I'm going to be there the first day. I won't be able to make both days. So look out for you all hanging out with you on the first day.
Apologies, guys. It's just crazy with the construction going on.
No problem.
Hold on.
We're just so grateful that you're making time.
Of course.
The idea of libraries comes up all the time, and here we have like inside scoop on everything we need to know about libraries.
For sure.
Exclusive and non-exclusive. Well, so we're pretty excited.
This is actually one of our studio spaces we're trying to rent out, so if anybody's looking for anything in West LA, let me know. All right. Let me throw these on. I think this is a little better. Okay. All right. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Great. All right. So where were we?
You were explaining how libraries are different, backends.
Yeah. So for ours, primarily it's all backend. We don't really receive any, even a blanket license fee for use of the library. It's really changed in this industry, at least in the reality TV world, because everybody wants to get it placed. So we're competing with Jingle Punks.
Yeah.
Who else? Killer Tracks. All those libraries are all over the place. So, but for the sync world, I think it just obviously you want to make connections with the different library owners if you can, and just submit the best content that you have available is really important. So.
That's awesome advice, and I think we'll get more into detail of what to send, so that people understand that too. So just walk us through the process of, so if you had your music in a library and it was picked, you wouldn't get that front end fee. It would show up back end.
Exactly.
And it would go to you, and then you get a cut and pay them, or it just you retitle? How does that work?
Okay, so the PRO agencies obviously are collecting all the cue sheets and then paying out the composers based on what has been placed in the TV show. So for instance, let's say I just did a curated library for Flipping Out. I don't know if you've heard of that show. It's a Bravo show. So we'll go in our gigantic library and whittle it down to, maybe 50 to 100 audio files that really work for the company.
Wow.
Because we'll watch an episode or a previous episode, get everything really set up, like identify each cue, exactly how it sounds, what stems they use, and then send them a drive. And then we have the hopes that the editors are going to pick our music and place it. And then once they place it, once the show gets played, the networks are obviously going to pay out the royalties to the PROs, and then you'll see it in your back-end statements. So. And
you'll see it. What was the last thing you said there?
You'll see it in the statements from BMI and ASCAP and so forth.
But how do you guys get your cut from that?
Well, we take the publishing. So the writers would take the writer's percentage, and we would take the publishing percentage.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
That keeps it nice and clean. Okay, So I'm going to dive into some of the questions here. Feel free to add your questions tomorrow. It says, do you get notified for each placement, or do you find out, or you don't find out until PRO?
That is a good question. It kind of depends on the production company and kind of the deal we have worked out. Some guys, they're like, send me your full hard drive and don't get involved with me. Let me do my work. Because they're busy. I mean, they're prepping shows. They got to go through thousands of files of audio, edit it down, get it into the show, and then launch it, and they have a whole business section trying to pitch the show to the company. So sometimes what we'll do is for presentations and sizzles for the production company, we'll let them use it gratis, so that in hopes that if they get the show picked up, we'll be the music supplier. So it's, cool. It's really this like whole thing of just trying to help each other out, production company to music library. How can we make it easier for them to use our music, and for obviously the viewers to like what's being played? So.
I think I feel like I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but what are the back end fees that you normally get from reality shows? So what does that look like in comparison to like a upfront?
Yeah, see, it's a great question, and it's really hard to explain, because what happens is when a show obviously plays, it doesn't just play on that network. They may have it played on different web platforms like YouTube Originals or wherever it might be, Hulu, and that'll collect royalties. So what we've seen is, you might get a penny here or a penny here, but it all adds up.
Yeah.
So,
Got it.
some shows we might, on Discovery, we may make only, $1 or $2 for a minute of music. But if it's played on there, played on web services, et cetera, it all adds up to, a good chunk of change. So it's really how much music can you get into the show, and how repetitively too. Like if we get onto one episode, can we get onto the next episode? Can we get on the next season? And if they like our music, they'll continue to use us as it goes, and as it plays on repeat, we can see those royalties year after year. So it's really the hardest part. The hardest part for us is just getting our foot in the door, really. And then
same for artists.
Exactly. So it's kind of like, I don't know, I see it as kind of like this chain. It's like production company, library. Library needs to be friends with production company. Composer needs to be friends with the library. And so if the composer can supply the library with really good music that the other libraries don't have, then we have a better chance of the production company going, wow, this is some unique stuff. Why don't we try these guys out on something?
Yeah.
So and a lot of composers don't, at least in my industry, they don't understand the kind of the time it takes and all the editing and all the money that goes into just getting the music in correctly and out to the production company. I mean, we have a full-time staff of people going through thousands or hundreds of submissions, trying to see what actually works and what doesn't, running it through our head guy. He checks everything, and then we process it. We have to retitle it for this non-exclusive library and then send it out, do any co-publishing splits. So it's a big process.
A lot of admin.
Yep, and like we track everything. So we have a big database where we can see all the different composers, all their splits, all of any of the cues that they've done, all the files for all the cues. Wow. It's all stored in one big database, and we can just do Excel exports. So it's really neat. We had a guy built it probably 3-4 years ago, before my time. But it's without that, it'd be impossible.
It's being organized and having that, like, I can't even imagine, because you're dealing with the amount of numbers that you're dealing with, track-wise, stems, what you have to deliver is so overwhelming. So that's the main thing.
And a lot of it, you run into a lot of, user error, certain things that people have, either, internally have screwed up on. Maybe this composer was written on the wrong cue, and then that gets sent out, to the PROs. Like, wait, why did that guy get paid for this? So we try to streamline our system to be as, efficient and, accurate as possible. But there's stuff out there that people are getting paid for things that they're not supposed to be getting paid for. It happens so much, because you have to think about it. All these different shows, all these different music libraries, people writing in cue sheets, people writing the incorrect information on cue sheets, wrong IPIs, wrong. So it's a big process. It's just one end, and then we also have to have the sales end of placing it. So.
And how good are they at some of the networks at filling out those cue sheets? Like you said, some people get paid that weren't supposed to, but does it go the other way as well?
Yeah. Well, and that's something. It's really the production company, as they're checking all the cue sheets, making sure everybody's doing it correctly. But we've found even with our top of the line clients like The Bachelor and that whole production company, I think it's NZK. Yeah. They routinely screw up cue sheets. So what we do is we have them send it to us, and we go through and check everything to make sure it's 100% right. Then we send it back to them, and they can send it off. So it's just like, it's a weird industry. It's some guys have made a lot of money and some people haven't. But it's really just about getting your stuff all over the place and with good people that are willing to place it,
Right.
So.
Okay, I'm going to dive into the questions here. What's the difference between non-exclusive admin, non-exclusive retitle, and exclusive deals between libraries? And what deals?
Yeah, so we, with the Fine Tune library, that's an exclusive deal. So basically, we'll give some instructions to a composer and say, hey, we need this hip hop track created. It needs to be, X number of minutes long. It needs to have these edit points. a strong beginning, strong middle, strong ending. We'll do some communication back and forth, and then we'll pay, a license fee or a fee for the cue, and then we'll own it, but we'll give them the writers and then start placing it. So that's typically the exclusive deal. And there's a lot of libraries out there, and I'm sure, you composers know of this. They do exclusive cues, but on a zero fee basis. And, we don't do that just because it's a lot of work for somebody to have control in perpetuity. So typically we pay a fee for any of the exclusive work done. So that's the exclusive. Non-exclusive admin, I mean, these are sort of phrases that I've kind of come up with just as I've seen different libraries.
Yeah.
But non-exclusive admin is more like you send off your music to a company. They don't take any of the publishing. They don't mess with any of your writers. You control all that, and they just generate license fees. I'd say probably a good example of this would be SongTrader. You can totally submit everything you have and control the publishing and the writers. Granted, you could be with another publisher and still submit on there. So, I mean, I think it's a good resource. We have an account on there as well. So that's kind of admin, and then non-exclusive retitle. So a lot of libraries, at least I've seen, do not necessarily make this very clear between non-exclusive admin and non-exclusive retitle. And it's difficult because as you're getting a bunch of different composers submitting and reaching out, it's hard to, spend a 10 or 15 minute conversation, about what does this mean? What does this mean to my music? And the biggest thing between non-exclusive and exclusive is that you, as a composer, as somebody that owns exclusive music, it's difficult to sell your music if it's already been made non-exclusive. It's already been out with a bunch of different libraries, because now it's out in the world. Another library doesn't want to own it if it's already placed with so many other people. Even if you were able to remove it from the old existing libraries, they wouldn't want to purchase it. So what I tell people, at least for our non-exclusive retitled library, I say send cues that may have been rejected for exclusive deals, and let's try to get some juice out of it, rather than just having it sitting around collecting dust, nothing happening with it. Let's try to get it at least in our library and placed on TV. So, we have guys that sometimes will submit, 100 unique cues, 500 unique cues with all the stems. It's great because it's like now instead of just sitting in the drawer at home, not making any income, we can, have the potential to place it on TV or generate some license fees from our online site. So.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
You guys represent cues and like full songs, artist songs, sort of like you place it all?
Yeah. We primarily deal with underscore. So we're not huge in the song world, but I've had chats. We've been trying to get in the promo world a little bit more. Mm-hmm. And I've had chats with the different networks, and they're starting to kind of move in this direction of having both access to the song version and the underscore version, and having large libraries that contain that. Yeah. So we're not a gigantic player like, the First Comms and the Killer Tracks in the world, but we're trying to grow so that we can get some of these placements, because I'm friends with all these people, but it's hard to if you don't have the backing, you can't. Yeah. So, and they just want good music, and they want a bunch of options. So it's, it's just having that available, and then, trying to make the deal. So really, I mean, if there are songs or there are anything that you guys can submit, I always will review the vocals and, maybe hang on to it in the side if there comes a situation, and then obviously put the no vocals version into our library. So.
Very cool. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much for taking the time to really detail this out and explain it to us.
Yeah, of course.
We have had a lot of music supervisors on and licensing agents, but a library is something that is asked about a lot, and we are really grateful to have your expertise here.
Yeah, of course.
There's so much opportunity for the artists on this call, with libraries as well.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
No, I was just going to get to the next question.
Okay, Cool.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I know people are probably curious about submitting, so we'll get to the how to do that and what that looks like for you in a little bit.
Great.
How should my music be structured for reality TV? What mixes of my music cues are most useful to libraries?
Gotcha. So, I mean, again, depending upon your deal, like if you're doing an exclusive deal, they're gonna look really deeply into how everything's cut. They're gonna make you make cut downs, so 60, 30s, and 15s, probably stem everything out. But there's certain mixes that are really useful and some that are not. I frequently get composers submitting stems to me where it's like string 1, string 2, string 3. And I'm like, I don't need that. I just need one stem of all the strings grouped together. And if the editor is like, hey, I just want to use strings for this part, bang, they can just grab it and go. I also, what's important is the drums and bass, that they be grouped together, at least in reality. I've never seen an individual bass stem being placed. It's drum and bass. And that brings up a good point. We were doing the flipping out curation, and I remember, we're all excited, and over the weekend I'm doing this, and I'm going through our library. This is the first time we were using the non-exclusive one, and man, I spent probably 10 hours a day just trying to whittle down what we actually needed out of 6 or 7,000 unique cues. Wow. Whittle it down. It's hard. I mean, you think you have a lot of music, but as you listen to a particular cue, a lot of times you don't. So some of these libraries that even have, 300,000 or 400,000 cues, they still need more. They don't have the right sounds for a particular, So we ran into the issue that, at least in our non-exclusive library, that we didn't have enough drum and bass stems. We had a bunch of full mixes that would have been great if we had the stems. And so I had to start digging into categories that weren't really related to find that information. And fortunately we were fine, but that's a huge thing. I mean, it's the chance of getting it placed or not getting it placed. The editor goes full mix. Oh no, this isn't exactly what I want. I want the drum and bass. Oh, there's no drum and bass. Screwed. We're out. They're on the next library. So really important. And a lot of people don't do that. So, I mean, it's
so much to keep track of.
Oh yeah. I mean, I could, maybe later I can kind of take a screenshot of sort of our database or something. You can kind of see how everything comes in. But yeah, what was yesterday? Oh yeah. Do you know the show Below Deck? Ever heard of that? Yeah. So we're probably going to get onto that show coming up. So we had to make a whole new clean version of our library just to get it uploaded so that the post-production supervisor could review it. And man, I mean, to just match everything up, make sure everything was clean. We didn't have any information that was incorrect. It took me a few hours just to go through, and so you're dealing with tens of thousands of audio files and making sure that nothing's incorrect.
Yeah, no, that's a lot. It's a lot.
So that's a big part of my job.
Yeah, that makes sense. Somebody's got to be making sure that that's working out every day, because you're just getting new songs and new tracks. And
yep.
We had a question here that was, Ernest says, if one wants to get music licensed for commercials, are there any conflicts with having their music with music libraries?
Excuse me. Are you saying that the library owns?
Like say they were with a licensing agent, like Catch the Moon,
okay,
exclusively, and is there any conflict with also having music with you guys, or if their music was with you, could they then also pitch for commercials with other agencies?
Yes, that's a good question. So this is where the whole non-exclusive, exclusive, non-exclusive admin thing really comes in. If you had an exclusive deal with a library, they own the publishing. They have control of that. You no longer have control of that. You can collect the writers and they'll give you any license fee splits, but you can't go and submit that to another library. That's illegal. It'll be in your contract. But for our non-exclusive library that we're trying to, obviously grow and grow, you can do whatever you want with it. You can send it to us, have it placed, go to another non-exclusive source, get it placed. The big thing to watch out for, again, is once it's in the non-exclusive world, you're going to have a difficult time getting it purchased as an exclusive cue from another library. So that's the big thing. I'm not exactly sure how, music supervisor would like to operate, if they'd like to have, exclusivity of the queue, or at least not have it in other places. I've seen that sometimes, but it depends on the deal too. We are on a couple different commercial, custom commercial polls that come out every once in a while. And so it's like Wells Fargo project, $15,000, submit your whatever, right? And so we'll go through quickly and maybe submit, 5 to 10 queues and just see what happens. If you're competing against everybody in the world, so you're not always seeing stuff, but they will.
It's crazy how anything ever aligns, the amount of music that's out there and the opportunities, but they do.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, if, that's why I always submit. If you have something that really fits the concept, send it over, because there's always a chance. But in those kind of deals, they'll be very specific. They'll be like, this is going to be for international distribution. This is exclusive to the client for a 3-year period. So you can't go ahead and say, all right, I just submitted this exclusively. They're licensing it. I'm going to go take this and send it over to a library. That you can't do that. So granted, people probably do and don't find out about it, but, I always say, keep yourself clean, don't try to do something that's not correct. So,
I agree with that. Yeah. Then you hit shovel down the road.
Yep. Exactly.
What is the best way to get your music noticed by a library?
Yeah. So honestly, when I get composer submissions, at least for our non-exclusive library, we're really kind of looking for just bulk submissions that we can quickly just go through and say, like it, dislike, editing's bad, mix doesn't work, etc. Send the notes back to the composer and say, hey, if you can fix these things, we'd be happy to accept it. But otherwise, we can't. We just don't have the time to make all the edits and fixes. So big thing is, have your stuff together, have it perfectly ready as if it was going on TV today. Have a strong beginning, a strong middle, a strong ending, great edit points within the queue, so that an editor can go, okay, from 15 to 30 seconds, I want to place this piece, and it's easy for them to edit out. If you don't have that, it becomes very difficult. What else? No fade outs at the end, at least for our library. If you have a strong fade out, it won't. Editors hate that. They like stop endings. And tag endings as well. It's like if you have a cool ending on it, usually it'll get placed. I'm trying to think what else. So structured. Yeah, and then just make sure all your stuff with the PROs is all in order, and send me the right writer's information. I have a lot of times where somebody's like, I think I co-wrote this with somebody else, but I'm not sure. And I'm like,
no.
If you tell me that, I'm gonna be nervous, because we're liable for all this stuff. We don't. Yeah. You better have all your stuff together and prepared correctly. That's why we're like, we have them even people separate. It's like, if you wrote X number of cues by yourself, put it in one folder. If you have co-writes, put it in another folder and put both your guys' names, and as it goes, and then we'll process it. So getting noticed, though, really the big thing is, it's not about, I guess it's kind of about how much you have. If you have 100 cues or 150 unique cues, and that's a lot to write. I mean, that could take 5-10 years. You have a good chance of getting it all over the place. I see. It's kind of funny, I'll mention a couple names because I think it's funny, but there's a couple guys. There's this guy, Eddie Gray. I don't know if you guys have heard of him, and wrote a Moav. They're in our library. They're in Jingle Punk's library. They're all over the place, but they're in control of hundreds of thousands of cues. So when a library sees that, they get all perked up and excited, because it's like, wow, this is great sounding material. I don't have to do a lot of work. I can quickly process this into my library and make it available to my production company contacts. So, but if you have something really unique and it sounds better than everybody else's stuff, even if it's just one cue, it might have a better chance of getting placed than 100 terrible cues, Yeah. So quality is key, for sure. I mean, and that it can lead to other things. It could lead to, sometimes we'll get asked by production companies to build them an exclusive library. So we'll do, 300 or 400 cues and start hiring out composers and say, okay, we need some hip hop music, we need some dance music, we need some of this. And if you're one of the guys that really were like, that sent us some stuff to our non-exclusive, and it was like, wow, this is great. We might be interested in having, hiring you for something like that. And that's perfect because that the production company is going to own those tracks. So they're going to use them as much as they can because they know they're going to make royalties in the back end. So I hope that explained enough.
Oh, for sure. It's amazing advice. It's fantastic. I think you're touching on a lot of the questions that are coming in. You're just naturally answering them. Two things that to stem from there are like, so how would you like to see songs organized, or when they're submitted? Somebody asked, like, are there how to construct the titles or descriptions to help you better, like when they are submitting to you? Mm-hmm. Or just in general, like what's the best way to organize the music files for submitting?
Yeah, that's a good question. For this library, we actually do a lot of the tagging and the descriptions and all that stuff ourselves, just because we like the way we do it. And we kind of have a process that we can do it fairly quickly. Yeah. And it makes it really easier on the composers, because it's like, send us your music, that's all you got to do. And then we'll process it, take us, maybe 4 to 6 weeks to get through it, get it into our library, hopefully get it into the next update to the production company. And then once we process all the music, we send back an agreement. You guys can review it. You'll see your cues with the original title and the retitled name, and then you just sign off and we're set, And for this non-exclusive library, we do a 3-year term, and that it gives us, enough time, because it takes us about 2 months just to process it, get it into the actual production companies. Takes them, 3 to 6 months to maybe use it, and then the royalties might come, the next quarter or 6 months later. So it takes a lot of time. Yeah. So we, but we like to give people an out where it's like, if you're not finding what you like here, we understand, but personally, I don't really see a reason to take it out, because you've already made it non-exclusive. You've got it in a library. You can still submit it to other libraries, and you have a chance of making money at the end. So, and we're doing all this editing work. Everything's better, for the music. So I personally think if you send it over and you're going to make it non-exclusive, leave it in there and see what happens. We have a couple things going on that are pretty exciting, even on our licensing site. So yeah, that's, I guess, the main point.
The questions are coming in. I think that you're touching on so many different parts that people want to know more about. So I'm just trying to figure out which direction to go, because there's so many things here. So let's see. Would you rather have a few extra bars of a passage for editing purposes at the expense of song length, or should you think about just writing for what works for the song minus fades out? I guess, like, what are different pieces? Like you touched on having this different beginning, middle, and what are some other parts and priorities that you're in your songs when you're listening to them?
Yeah, that's a good question. The biggest thing, the length of it isn't always a huge deal. If it's 5 minutes or longer, it's kind of like, okay, like that's a lot of material. That might be too much. We typically say, a minute 20 is good, and anything exceeding is great. 30 seconds doesn't necessarily give us enough, because there's a lot of times where they'll edit in 50 seconds or a minute of a cue. But the big thing is when we get the music, we rate everything. So I created a system where it's like, wow, we give a ranking for mix, we give a ranking for composition, and then, beginning and ending is the third ranking. So those are the biggest things. And so if you get straight ones, then you're on fire, and you have a great chance.
Gold. That's such a great thing to know, that they're being rated on those things.
Oh yeah, no, it works for multiple purposes. So first of all, when we're doing any polls, we're just going to quickly organize by the best rated things, look there first, and if it's not there, we'll go look at the lower rating. So submitting really good quality content is really important.
Yeah.
The other thing is, I don't know if you've seen our licensing website, but the rating is actually how it's displayed on the website. It's part of the sort function. So if you have a top 1, you're going to be on the first page where customers come in and they go, okay, action tension, action sports, what's in here? Oh, okay, there's this guy's cue. Let me license that versus having to go to page 3 or page 4 where the lower ranking stuff is. So it's really a big benefit to be, you know, really professional, have everything put together, and it's hard. I mean, mixing and producing and mastering is difficult stuff, you know, especially if it's not a full-time thing you're doing. But I'd say chip away at it, you know, if you're working somewhere else, you're doing something else, you know, every weekend, maybe just chip away at one cue, get it so that it's perfect. And when you submit it, you know, we go, wow, let's get this going. Let's push this cue. Yeah. I think, you know, so.
That's good. I mean, there's so much music, so you have to stay, you know, that quality. I think one thing that is resounding across the board for no matter who we interview is the quality is king. So, you know, it could be a great song, but if it's demo quality, what can you do with it? You know, and things are so fast turnaround. You need it to be great right now.
Yeah, we don't, I mean, just to kind of give you guys some pointers, once we get the music, we don't, I mean, other than editing it and making sure that all the stems are the same length and everything's prepared, we're not mixing it. We're not mastering it. We don't deal with that. We don't have time for that. So it should come in at 100% quality, ready for TV. And like when people send me demo stuff, like, hey, can you check this out? Is this sort of in the right range? I don't have time. I'm sorry. Like I wish I did, but
no apologies.
You know, like I'll quickly look to your SoundCloud and I'll send you the format letter where it's like, you know, unfortunately this isn't working, but you let me know if you have some questions and I can tell you why. And I can quickly, you know, bullet point, hey man, the mix is not great, you know, work on the mix or hire a mixer to take care of it. You know, for instance, like let's say so Bravo Q, right? We have a programmer that works for us to develop this API for our website. It's going to be pretty cool. We're doing 2 partnerships with video editing applications. So I don't know if you guys have heard of Lightworks or Magix, Magix. We're basically creating a API that allows our entire library to be embedded within their video editing application. So any users that use the app can see AmazingMusicTracks right in there.
Wow.
We'll be right next to Pond 5 and what's the other one? Audio Network. So they have thousands and thousands of users hitting the page looking for music. You know, if you're one of 3, you're in pretty good shape.
Wow.
So yeah, we got a lot of different shit going on. We got placing the music.
You guys have to be so organized to be. How many people are on the team there?
Yeah, so me and my boss Brad, we work full time, and then the programmer that we have, he's freelance, but he probably works 10 to 15 hours a week. And then we have 2 other people that help me that are just kind of like music library editing and supplying and so forth. So so I kind of oversee those 2 people. I give them certain tasks. It's like, how can we get more people to know about us? Try this out. You know, it's tough. You don't know what to do, you know? So it's,
and it always changes. Something works, and then you know, you got to try something new.
Yeah, no, for sure. So yeah, I mean, I try different things, and you know, sometimes you know it's a lot of cold calling. Sometimes that works. Sometimes it's cold emailing. Sometimes it's, you know, any way to kind of get the guy on the phone and acknowledge you is a win, you know, in my book. And if they like you and they like your personality, then you might have a chance, you know. So, but they're, you know, at least in our world, the production codes are getting hit up repetitively. I mean, I get guys where it's like, I just got 3 calls today about this. Please don't be a flag. I'm like, all right, well, you know, I'll give you my spiel and I'll leave. You know, I'll send you a quick email. Let me know, you know, in the future, and you know, maybe 6 months down the line, the guy will contact me and say, all right, Kyle, let's do something. You know, but it's, you know, that's the hardest part for us is, you know, the production companies have people submitting music from everywhere. They have any deal they want. They don't have to pay for the music for at least the reality world. They don't give us a license fee. We don't, you know.
Right.
And I mean, it's sad to say, but in this new library, they've even gone to this stance where they want 50% of our publishing to try to place the music. So that's kind of part of the reason why we created this non-exclusive library, was so that we could get into those deals that we couldn't before with an exclusive library. So I can kind of explain it. When you when you retitle something, again, you can't sell it. You can't sell it to another library. You couldn't sell it to somebody that wants to purchase it. We've had a couple offers for my partner's library, for the exclusive library, to purchase it. But they don't want anything to do with non-exclusive. They don't even, I mean, they do like that if it generates income, that's good, but they don't want to own it because it's all over the place legally and so forth. So we created this library so that we could do those deals, also have it non-exclusive so that you guys can look for other opportunities at the same time. So it's kind of like an everybody wins scenario.
Yeah.
So, cool.
So I emailed you 5 songs with the links. Did you get that?
Yes, I did.
So let's dive into that because we're already almost at the hour mark. And so like we said, just listen to however much, you would normally go through the song to kind of get an idea of if it's working or not for you. And then give your honest, straightforward feedback that, doesn't have to be.
Great.
Okay.
So I am going to, I gotta move. Let's see. All right, got box, cool.
And then for anybody else, because they won't be able to hear because he's on headphones, if you want to just press the links, they're in the song sign up file.
Okay. Wait, so I have an email with 5 links. It says here are the links to sharing. You said there's something else that I can click on?
No, sorry. That was for everybody else.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You're good.
All right, cool. So I gotta move, on. Let's see.
Ain't got no time to stand in line. I've gotta run faster than the sun. I'm trying to please my Anthony. It's never what the rules being used. Gotta move on. I gotta move on. I gotta move on. I gotta move on. Water is raging with the rising tide. I'll make it through to the other side. The highest mountain, the steepest climb. So it's just a matter of time. I've got to move on. 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 Got me a new pair of walking shoes. Now I'm walking away from these same old blues. Don't look back, nothing to prove. Call me crazy, but I gotta move.
Oh, that's cool.
Sing my song. Move on to the break of dawn. Move on, gotta be free. Move on, free to be me. Move on, sing my song. Move on till the break of dawn. Move on, gotta be free. Move on, free to be me. I've gotta move on. I've gotta move on. I've gotta move on. I've gotta move on. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So the first one, I got through that. Cool. So do you want me to give feedback then now on that one?
Yeah, just like and when you listen to them, you don't have to listen to the whole thing, just as like you would normally listen to.
Okay.
You know, just like skip around, see what you're like how you would normally listen.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to, yeah. All right.
And then your feedback, just straightforward, you know, like a minute of feedback.
Gotcha. So on that one, I really liked the way that the guitars were panned. That sounded really, really good. The drums and bass, I'd say the bass could maybe use a little bit of mix work. And then the vocals, what was cool, I liked the melodies and everything, but it was a little unclear. I think that might have to just do with the EQing and how it was mixed. But the way that the song progressed was really great. I thought it was a great idea. Where else? There was one part that I thought was pretty cool. It kind of went into this sort of like suspense section, like kind of ambient suspense, eerie type sound. I think it was right around like 220. And that was pretty cool. But in like in the reality world where it kind of changes sound like that, it sometimes throws editors off. We've had guys send stuff where it's like, it's really contemporary, and then all of a sudden it's like Christmas music. You're like, what just happened? You know? I've had it. I mean, it's some of it's cool, but it's like, yeah. And then, yeah, I mean, the only other thing was at the end, and maybe it's just my system, but it seemed like it just cut. Like there was the tail just cut out, the reverb tail. And that automatically would give you, at least in our book, a 5 on the rating, because that doesn't work if the tail doesn't totally go out. It needs to hold out. It needs to be nice and long. I mean, the editor's going to hate that, but that could just be my system. It may have just cut out at that point. But that's huge. The reverb tail needs to be as long as it is and then ends. Or if you just have a stop ending, maybe you switch the ending so it's just like, you know, move on, and it's done, you know, and it totally cuts out. Those are great too. But yeah, no solid cuts. Make sure all your edit points are good and all the fades are great, because we'll catch it all.
That's such great advice.
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
Awesome.
yeah. So the next one, and yeah, just as you would listen to it if you were like going through 5 songs and skipping through to see what you need or don't need, you know?
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I'll just roll through these then. All right. Here we go. Sun in the sky. Let's roll. Wow, that was great. I like that one a lot. The second one, very good mix. Everything sounded good. That's something that we would really use. I mean, obviously we might not use the vocals, but you know, put that behind a scene, and I definitely think that would be a great track. Again, same thing. Could be my system or however it plays, but the ending, it just cut flat, straight. Again, really bad if that happens, but the idea was great. The ending could have been good if it didn't cut, and yeah. So I'll move on to the next one. So great work.
Great, and it's really, you know, I think important for people to see also like how you go through the songs, because that's you know, that's how everybody's going through them. We're like, here's the pieces, I know what I'm looking for, and that's about how long it takes to figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, it's sometimes even faster. I mean, I'm definitely trying to give you guys some advice, but you know, I'd listen to that first couple seconds, hear the mix, listen to the end quickly, and say, all right, good to go, next. You know, so awesome. It's really that quick. And then once we do all the editing, you know, we take a little more time. But okay. So Joe Uzo, we can't be friends. Here we go.
We can't go on like this. I've seen it, we can't go on like this. We can't just coexist. No, we can't be friends. No, we can't be friends. can't just coexist. No putting on a show so they can believe us, acting like nothing ever happened between us.
Okay. Let me just hear this really quick one more time. All right. So that one was really pretty cool. The beginning part was a little bit in your face, and it kind of threw me off guard for a second because it's all just vocals. But I thought it was great. The ending, again, I think it had that same cut issue. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Might not be as much used in the underscore world. It's definitely a song, you know. So, but something that we would review. The mix sounded pretty good. So I'll move on to the next one. Was there any other questions or anybody?
No.
Okay. Let's see. Number. Cool. Yeah, so that one was very like Vampire Weekend a la carte, you know, like I like that one a lot. Very indie rock. Actually, I was, what was it? Oh, it was a placement for CBS. They had like an NCIS show where they're like, well, we want indie rock. I think this would be a cue that would fit pretty well in there. What was the, what else? Oh, there was a synth, I think 3/4 through, that sounded a little cheesy. So maybe, you know, rethink that one, do a little mixing with that one. But the rest of it, I liked it, you know, that was pretty good.
Mark just added that this was done in the back of a 15-passenger van.
Oh, no way. Wow. No, it's a cool tune. They're all cool. Yeah, I mean, maybe just a few little mixing things here and there, and, you know.
Cool. Okay, last one tomorrow.
Yep. Here we go. Yeah. Yeah, okay. That one, I really like the guitars and I like the vibe of it. I think minus the vocals, that could be a pretty good cue for some of the kind of like flipping out rock type sections. I could see a lot of good edit points in there for that piece of music. The ending was cool, although I think, again, the reverb tail should have been just a hair longer. It just felt a little bit awkward. And what else? Yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah.
Awesome.
Was there anything else that you guys wanted to know? I mean, it's kind of what it is.
One last question.
All right.
How can people send you music? What do you want to see when they send you? What does that email look like? What are, you know, like, what's the most efficient, effective way to email you stuff so we're not overwhelming you? You know, but it's like really easy to get through, and you know exactly what you need.
Yeah. For me, the best thing is, you know, a very short message to say, hey, hey Kyle, my name's blah, 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 blah. Here's a link to some of my music. And if you want to include, if you've done any shows or anything, on network TV or broadcast TV, that's great. So I at least kind of know that you're in the industry and I can understand that. Not necessary, but it helps. And then just a little SoundCloud link or something that I can quickly listen to, sort of like this. I can just go through, bang, next one. And then the other thing would be just make sure that everything that you're going to submit, again, is not owned by an exclusive library, at this point. And that, that you can send over, have all the co-writer stuff ready to go. So when I go, okay, this is great, send me, and I'll include the instructions where it's just, we transfer me the folder with all the audio files, we'll go through it, process it, and then send you back the agreement. So,
you would probably want instrumentals because we have a lot of song, vocal tracks in this group. So probably also the instrumental would be, when they're sending your music, would be interesting to you.
Oh, completely necessary. Yeah. So I would need if you want to send the song with the vocals, that's fine. But definitely a no vocal full mix version. And then drum and bass is huge. A stem of that.
For that first email, you want all of that? Or
no. I'm just saying, what if I say, okay, we're good to go, I accept. That would be the secondary. I'll send you a list, and it'll have a PDF where it's like, here's your music submission instructions, here's the draft agreement, so you can kind of quickly review, and some of our deal points. And
I just meant like instrumentals for that first email to you, because probably you'll be interested in that, or it doesn't matter.
Oh yeah. No, I see what you're saying. If it's easy for you guys to upload just the instrumental, it is helpful to me, so I can kind of just really listen to that versus having the vocals kind of in my ear. But if it's, not completely necessary, if you already have your links together, ready to go, send it off, and I'll go through everything. So
great. Okay.
Cool.
So would you like me to share your email, or do you want people to email me and then I send it to you, or?
Oh, you can share mine. Let me know when you're. Oh, you already have it. The Kyle at AmazingMusicTracks. That's fine.
Yeah, you can just say it out loud, Kyle.
Yeah, so it's just Kyle, KYLE, and then @AmazingMusicTracks.com. That's the email.
Okay,
so,
great.
Cool.
Yeah, so I'm just seeing in the chats, and just to clarify, when you are sending him, he doesn't need all of these different parts, just a playlist like we do when we say to pitch people something that's streamable, you can go through quickly, just to get an idea of what it is that you're presenting, so you don't have to come with all the different parts.
Exactly. Yep. Just present it to me, and then I'll say good to go, and then anything that you want to submit to me non-exclusively, anything you have, we'll go through all of it, and then we'll basically pick out the ones we like. Big thing to know is we need the high quality files for TV. So if you've recorded it at 4824, that's perfect. If you have done it at 4416, it's okay. It's obviously it's not our favorite, but the big thing is if you have a session and let's say you recorded all MIDI instrument, if you could just convert that to 4824, that would be best. If you have real instruments recorded in a session at 44.116, then just leave everything at 44.116 or 44.124. And then, don't try to upconvert MP3s, because we have a thing that checks everything. So we have like a little app that I'll pull in the audio file, and it's like, okay, all the sound cuts off here. This is an MP3. We can't take it. So don't do that. Don't use an app to upgrade an MP3 to WAV or high quality AV. So cool.
All that's right. So good. Thank you so much for your time. So generous, and we will definitely be in touch. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Great to hear from you all and get some great questions. And feel free to shoot me an email whenever. If I don't get back right away, it's just because I'm plugging away at something else.
Because you're doing a million trillion things. So.
Yeah. Yep. So and again, just to kind of give you guys a heads up, we have 2 updates this week coming up to production companies. And so how many? I think it's like 7 or 8 companies that we're sending our updates off to. So we're really just rolling through as many submissions as we can right now just to try to get it on the update. So this would be a great time if anybody wants to submit. We're looking to get it off either late this week or early next week. So roll through it if you guys have it. Right. Cool.
Such a great opportunity. Thank you.
Awesome.
Available to everybody.
Of course. Very cool. All righty.
Have a wonderful day, guys.
Yeah, thanks so much, Sonnet.
Kyle.
Mm-hmm.
Bye.
Bye-bye.